Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to see async and await in JavaScript. So if you are new here, please consider subscribing so you won't miss any future content. Now let's start the video. Yes, so before going to the async and await, let's understand example. Okay, so right now you can see I have example where I have a function which is saying get users data and one more function which is get department name. Okay, and you see if I hover over it, it's you can see here it's a promise. It's returning a promise. Okay, if I expand it, you can see that I have a promise here. Okay, so in the last video we saw example. This is the same example we use in the last video. Okay, and you see here what we are doing here is like we have a user list. You can see the user data, ID, name, and the department. Okay, so three things we have for each user, and based on the ID we are trying to get the user data. Okay, so from the user list you can see we have a promise, and here we are filtering out the users list with respect to item id, which is id. Okay, so this id we are getting from the parameters. Okay, and then based on the result dot length, if it is 0 we are saying user not found, and if it is correct, if the length is there, we are saying just we are returning or we are sending the data back. Okay, so that's what we are doing with the function 1. Okay, now the one more additional thing here is I have one more function. Okay, which will going to return us the data based on the previous response. Okay, for of response of this function is dependent on the response for this. Okay, so if we got the response for the get user data, we can get the department as well. Okay, that's how the dependency we have. And if I hover over the function, you can see this is also returning a promise. Okay, let's see what it is. If I open it, you will see a department list we have and a promise which is returning. Okay, so here also we are doing the same thing with respect to the type. Okay, I'll show you the data. So we have a ID, we have a type. Okay, and this type, and in our users you see department. Okay, so this department and this types are matching. Okay, so based on the department I want to get the name of the department, which is section A, section B, and section C. Okay, and you see I am providing a type is nothing but in user list it's a department. Okay, so type, based on the type I am filtering the departments list, you can see here, and based on the length I am sending I'm saying that no department found, or I'll say result. Okay, so for one thing I'll just do here instead of b d, so we can test that all out as well. Okay, so now I think we are clear with the both the promise. Okay, now it's time to run it. Okay, how we can run it, let's check. Okay, so first thing I'll do, get user data. Okay, and I'll say id as 1. Okay, so now what we have to do, you guys know, if you watch the last video, we have to have a then and catch block. Let's do that. Then first dot then and then catch. Okay, so we got the our two blocks. Okay, now inside that let's have a callback, and which will take us get us the data back as well. So I'll say data, and I'll just print the data here. Okay, and then catch, same, we'll have a callback function, and it will have error, and it will display the error. Okay, let's say error here. Okay, so now you see this is the first get user data we done it. Okay, so let's try to run this. This is the test.js. Okay, so now let's run test, and you see now it's saying that the user found. Okay, if I do 12 or 11 here, it will not going to found the data. It will say no user found. Okay, so this is, we know we have done it in the last video, but now as you know that whatever data you are getting it here inside the then block, with respect to that you need to get the department name. Okay, so that how we can do it, let's check. Okay, so here I got the data. I'll just remove the console, and here we have to call the other one, get department name. Okay, and inside this we have to provide the data. Okay, so the department name we have, right, type. Okay, so if I console this again here, let's run this. Okay, so you see here department. Okay, so this department we have to pass inside this uh, argument here. Okay, so let's see how we can pass it. So first thing we have to know how exactly we can get it. Okay, so this is a array, right? This is array, and this whole object is a position on of 0. Okay, so what I can do here is data of 0, that will get us the object, and then if I say dot, it will give us department as well. Okay, so this is how I can get the department out of it. Okay, so now as I am calling a function which is returning a promise, then again I have to do the dot then and catch, and this is inside the then. Okay, it's not outside. Okay, it's inside the, then we are calling one more promise and we have to do the then and catch again. Okay, so then let's do that then, and then we'll have catch here this way. Okay, and let's do the same thing inside that. Instead of data, I'll say data 1. Okay, because if I do data and data, it will confuse JavaScript. Okay, so let's have data and I'll print the data 1 here. Okay, and then catch, I'll say here we can provide error. Okay, it doesn't matter because it's inside the then block. Okay, so I'll say error here. Okay, now you see the complexity, you have to find it. Okay, so right now I'm using only two promises, that's why it is happening like this. And again, I want to run this data synchronously. Okay, I want to wait until unless I got the user back from the server. Okay, then I want to continue to the department. Okay, I don't want to directly jump to the get department. If you do this right, let's suppose you have this first and then this is second. Okay, suppose. Okay, now with this you can't run it because you can't get the department in this position. Okay, you can run this one but you can't get this department here. Okay, you have to wait until this thing executed, but until unless you call it inside the then block, it will not going to run. Okay, and again, as it is asynchronous, right, promise is asynchronous, so it will not going to wait at all for the first one. That's why we are providing inside the then block. Okay, so in order to overcome this issue, we need to use async and await. Okay, so the issue is simple. Okay, you have to use the promise inside the then block. Again, if is one more promise, you have to again use the inside the then block. It will be a very complex structure. Okay, so in order to remove this complexity, what we can do is we can use async and await. What async and await will do is it's a synchronous operation. It will make your function, or the what do we say, this promise to hold over there, and once it is completed, then it will go to the next steps. Okay, so that's how the async and await will work. So let's see how exactly that works. Before that, let's run this code. Okay, in order to verify if it is working or not. Okay, now you see I ran the code and you see I got the section B as the output. If I console here data, we'll see that data is coming as well. Node test, and you see firstly we got the data of the user which is having the department as B, and then we got the department which is name have section B and type as B. Okay, so the result is correct. If I do 12, it should give us error. Okay, so let's see. Node test, and you see no user found, it's giving. And instead of this, if I say 3, I think that's the user we have with the department D. Yes, that's the 3 ID. But as you know that D doesn't exist in the department, so it should throw a error to us. Okay, so let's see. Node test, and you see it provided the user data properly, but it is not able to provided the data of the department because D department doesn't exist. That's why it's saying no department found. Okay, so this is how this thing is working. Now let's jump into the async and await. Let's see how exactly we can do with that. Yes. So as you can see, I have created one more file with the async await, and then you can see the same promises which we have used earlier that is been added in this file. Okay, so we are not going to change anything with the promise. The only thing is the structure which we have used earlier with the only promise, right? That we are going to change with the help of async and the await. Okay, so let's understand what is async and await. Async is a keyword. Okay, it's a keyword which will going to be defined with the function. Okay, and it will tell that there should be definitely a single promise should be exist in that function. Okay, so we can't directly assign outside, we have to have it for the function. Okay, so let's create a function first and let's see uh, print result, I'll say for now. Okay, so print result. Before this function we can write async. Okay, And suppose if you have a arrow function, okay, so say hello. So this is the arrow function. If you have this way, you can't write before this, okay, that's an error. Okay, so you have to write before this parenthesis async. Okay, so with arrow function you have to provide like this. If a normal function is there, you have to provide like this. Okay, and then await. Okay, so await is nothing but it will going to make the JavaScript function or the JavaScript execution to wait until the promise is end. Okay, it will make it it will going to make this particular function as synchronous. Okay, until unless this function execute, nothing will going to go further. Okay, so we are going to check that synchronization as well in this. Okay, so let's do one thing. I'll say let user data equal to, and then I'll have get user data. Okay, so earlier we used to have dot then and catch right after this promise. Right now we have to write it this way, and after equal to we have to provide await keyword. Okay, so await keyword only works with the promise. If we have promise here, then only it will work. Okay, so if we provide something other than that, let's see what will happen. Okay, say hello, I'll say call and hello. Okay, and let's provide this. Okay, now you see it's giving three dots under this. Okay, if I hover over it, it says await has no effect on this type of expression. Okay, this type of expression doesn't have doesn't need await. Okay, that's why it will say that. Okay, but the moment you provide the promise, it will not going to complain about anything. Okay, it will directly say yes, it will going to work. Okay, so now what we'll do after this, I'll going to print this. Okay, user data. Okay, and then what we are saying, we need to call the get department based on the response of this. Okay, so this is the same response earlier we got it, the array and the curly braces, right, the same thing. Okay, so let's say department data equal to, and then await, because we want to call the uh, function which is returning the promise. Okay, so this is what it is. And here we need to provide id, and here we need to provide this user data of 0, so we can get the object. And if I do dot department, I should be getting the department type. Okay, and then what I'll do is in the bottom I'll print department data. Okay, so this is how it will going to be. Okay, and let's say let's try it. Okay, let's try once. So 35, and let's print it. So yes, nothing happened because we didn't call this function. We have to call this print result function. Okay, let's call this and let's run it again. Now you see we got the data. Okay, so id name Bruce, department B, we got it, id type B, and section, okay, also we got it. So in this way it means it's working. It's waiting till this data get back here. After this data came, then only this is running. Okay, so let's see in the synchronization how it's working. Okay, I'll have a console here, start. Okay, then here I'll say got the data. Okay, and after this I'll say end. Okay, so let's see how exactly this is working. If I run it now, is 35, and now you see it's saying here start. Okay, so now you see first one, it's saying start, and then it's saying got the data. Okay, so it means it got the data and it printed this one, and then it went for the department, and after this end is ran. Okay, so you see generally it doesn't happen like this. Okay, if I have this say hello, right, and if I try to run this with just normal promise. Okay, so let's see what it will do. Dot then callback function, which will I'll say data, and I'll just print data, and then catch. Okay, dot catch, I'll say error, and this console dot error. Okay, and I'll say here start, and after this promise, right, I'll say console end. Okay, so instead of that, let's try to run this say hello function. Okay, so here let's print it. So I just want to show you one thing, that how the synchronization is working with the async and await. Okay, because this is here we are not doing any synchronization. We are not using await. We are not using async. So it should print us start first, then end first, and then the data. Okay, so first this one will be printed, then second this one, and third one this console will be printed. Okay, so let's see how exactly this is working. So I'll say node 35 and let's run it. Now you see, start and end, and after end it printed this. Okay, so you are understanding this, right? So this is the asynchronous behavior. Okay, this is the asynchronous behavior. But the moment we use async and await, it's giving us the proper data. Okay, it's starting and it's waiting for some time until the data comes back. Once the data comes back, it's printing this one and it's getting the data from the user data, the department, and then it's running, and once it is completed, then it is printing this and saying end at the end. Okay, so this is the synchronization. Okay, so this is how the synchronization works, and the with this the asynchronization, this is how the asynchronization will be there. Okay, so these are the two different examples of the synchronous and the asynchronous, and as well as the async and the await. Okay, async and await. So async await make sure that you should use the synchronized data. Okay, synchronized execution. Okay, but there are flaws. Okay, with async await. So first flaw is you can't directly use outside. Okay, so suppose let's go and I'll say let users equal to await get user data. Okay, so if I say this one, this will definitely throw an error, because I'll show you the error as well. I'll just comment on the first two things, and let's do this, and 35, right? So yes, now you see it's giving error. It's saying await is only valid in async function and the top level bodies of modules. Okay, so it means it should be inside the function, or else it will not going to work. Outside it will not going to work at all. Okay, so that means you can make your function synchronized, not the whole process. Okay, you can make your function synchronized, not the whole process. That you have to understand. Okay. Yes, so this is about async and await in JavaScript. This is how we can make a function synchronized in JavaScript environment. Okay, so thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing and give it a like. I'll be back with more content in the next video. Thank you.